Hi, friends. I'm Scott Giles, and welcome to Power Talk, my podcast that I do here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I cover topics related to spirituality, hypno-coaching, and the hypnotic arts and sciences generally. If you would like to know more about my professional work, check out my website, which I'll tag at the end of this video. Today, I want to talk about the spirituality of violence. A topic I realize may surprise or upset some of you. Put this in the context that I am an accomplished martial artist myself. Our society still has the echoes of Victorian culture, where things were supposed to be nice. The problem is that the world isn't nice. We had 9/11, terrorism, crime and its increase has made it clear to all of us, I think, that the world is not a nice place. But I think we do live with a level of denial, and we don't want to talk or think that way. This is probably less true now than it used to be, but I recall, probably with an unhealthy delight, the look of horror on the faces of church folks when they realize that I am both a fully credentialed minister in my denomination and a black belt martial artist whose childhood was full of street fighting. Now, I am many things, but nice is not one of them. I'm a black belt. I'm a marksman. I'm an accomplished blade fighter. I was the ancient weapons instructor for my martial arts academy for decades. Mostly I do these things as a way of self-development now, but as a younger person, I fought for practical reasons to survive. Much of the martial arts is mental or spiritual. Being a marksman requires precise breath control and the ability to focus, and nothing tests your courage like the sword. But that said, I'm not a nice person. Mess with me at your peril. So today I want to talk about violence, why it is sometimes necessary, and how the differentiated and spiritual person might understand it. Now, when I say the spirituality of violence, I'm not just talking about combat. I'm talking about the world itself. The world is a violent place. And if you don't get that, you're not paying attention. So the spirituality of violence is really the spirituality of being alive in an imperfect world, one where you may have to defend yourself or someone else. Let me say at the start, I believe violence is always regrettable and to be avoided whenever possible. Any martial artist who is well trained will tell you that the first thing is to have what we call situational awareness. That is, you pay attention to what is going on around you and try not to get into situations where things could become violent. Most street crime happens as the result of an ambush. The attack comes out of the dark with no warning or time to prepare. Therefore, you pay attention before you walk into that dark area that might offer cover for an attacker. You wonder about the intent of that guy leaning against the building at the corner. You don't get surprised. In fact, the only time I've ever been seriously injured in a fight was because I got sucker punched, as it's called. That is, a group of 5 guys came up to me without warning, displaying no unusual sign of anger or intent, and then one of them hauled off and punched me in the face when I wasn't looking. That's a sucker punch. It's a coward's move, but most attackers are cowards. They are perfectly willing to take advantage of you. I blame myself because I did not have situational awareness. I should never have let 5 unknown guys get that close to me. So rule number 1, be aware of your situation. And rule number 1 leads to rule number 2, avoid conflict when possible. In Proverbs 15, we read, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So don't go looking for and don't go picking fights. And brothers, don't let the girl you are with goad you into a fight that you could avoid. I've seen that happen too many times. She says, "Are you going to let him talk to me that way?" implying that he would not be man enough for her if he did. The result, he gets into a fight he can't win and maybe gets stabbed or shot in the process. The only time I have ever actually seen someone take a bullet in a fight was a fight that escalated out of control because his girlfriend of the moment berated him when he tried to walk away. That was dumb. Any girlfriend or boyfriend who would encourage you into a violent encounter you could avoid is someone you're better off without. Avoidance is not cowardice, it is wisdom, and being wise is part of the spirituality of violence. Because understand this, once you have opened the door to violence, anything can happen. You cannot control other people. You cannot control how a situation might escalate. Now, with these rules, I'm not just talking about physical violence. Don't get caught up in a political fight at work that you could avoid or finesse. Watch out for booby traps and landmines set by other people on a committee who don't like your ideas. There are other kinds of violence besides the physical. But all this said, there may be times where rules number 1 and number 2 don't work. Like the 5 guys who sucker punched me. They were looking to attack. They were not going to be stopped by anything less than a deterrent, which I didn't put up because I got careless and was not paying attention. Sometimes you do have to fight. Here is where spiritual wisdom comes into play. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said thousands of years ago, "If you have passed through life without an opponent, no one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you. If you have to fight, use it to learn about yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, what you're capable of, and if you win, don't turn into a creep. Use it to discover that you're a better person. Show your opponent some grace. Let him or her save face if you can. Because if you don't, there will probably be another encounter." The first principle of the spirituality of violence, learn about yourself from those fights you can't avoid. Use them to make yourself better. As a swordsman myself, I have often spoken of the Kenshi, the sword saint of ancient Japan, Miyamoto Musashi, probably the greatest swordsman who has ever lived. He would write 2 books, both of which are still studied. The Book of 5 Rings, which is about practical fighting, where his second book is philosophical, titled The Path of Aloneness. It is a collection of 21 aphorisms that capture the essence of his spiritual practice. And the first precept is, accept everything just the way it is. Now, by this, Musashi did not mean don't try to make things better. He spent his whole life trying to make things better. What he meant is don't waste energy on being upset that the world isn't the way you want it to be. Accept what is. Seek to improve what you can, but don't waste your energy on purposeless emotional reaction. The book, The Path of Aloneness, begins with this precept because it is foundational in understanding the spirituality of violence. Being upset about something is a judgment that you make. All it serves to do is cloud your mind. Instead, perceive things as they are. Then you can decide what's your next best move. Situational awareness. How many times have you seen someone get into a mess because they got emotional and made the wrong move? They didn't avoid the fight, and they went into it with a clouded mind, and therefore they probably lost. Author Varg Freeborn, in his book Violence of the Mind, writes, "Weapons and fighting skills make up 20% of a fighter's capacity. The other 80% is determined by what takes place in the mind." Absolutely. Perceive things clearly and calmly decide your next step. That is the beginning of the spirituality of violence, and it is the opposite of acting in anger. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject, and I'd like to invite you to join me. It does help me if you let others know about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe. If I can be of help to you, don't hesitate to reach out through email, my website, or my Patreon channel. Stay well and stay safe.